I make a motion to approve the December 7th minutes.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. We'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approval of minutes by a sign of aye. And anybody with nay, and I believe Ursula seconded, so I'm sure she's fine with it. And okay, that approves the meetings for last month. And we'll move on into new business, seeing as there's no old business. And Mr. Matt, if you could please take us away on our first application.
All right, thank you. The first application is G-2021-01. Chris, I believe it's Leverton, is applying for a variance to reduce the rear yard setback from 25 feet to 21 feet at 105 Clubhouse Drive. I believe Mr. Leverton is applying on behalf of the owner, Christy Robinson, in this matter. The lot is about 0.1 acres in size. As part of the Cherry Blossom residential or single family part of the Cherry Blossom neighborhood. Here's an aerial image of the lot. So as you can see, there's the house is somewhat recently constructed, since this is our new aerial imagery from I think a year or 2 years ago at this point, or a year and a half. There is as you can see from the drawings in the packet that the applicant submitted, there's an existing concrete patio that they're looking to extend a roof over, as well as some, like a little half wall around the base to give the patio a little bit of privacy, maybe from some of the neighboring properties. But that patio that that roof over the patio that they're proposing would extend into the rear yard setback area. And so that's what the variance request is for. In general, when I was looking at the application, I don't think that it would, negatively impact the public health, safety, or welfare. I don't think that it would really alter the character of the neighborhood. So I don't really have any issues as far as those concerns. One thing I was hoping maybe the applicant could speak to in this matter is just, whether or not there were any unique circumstances in place in this lot. Did they find that, there was, in some cases the lot is narrow or the topography was an issue. And so that's where the need for the variance arises. So I was hoping that the applicant would be able to fill us in on some of that information. But if they are able to provide that additional justification that meets the requirements in state statute, then I'm okay with recommending approval of this application. The three conditions that I have listed here in the staff report and on the screen are standard that I would include with any variance request.
Yeah, it seems to me this is just an issue of, creating an extension of the house itself will encroach, because that'd be part of the building, but you can pour concrete all the way up to the property line.
Yes.
But if the applicant has anything else they'd like to clarify, seems pretty straightforward to me, but I'll welcome any comment or even just a hello, or if anybody else has any questions.
If I might, Mr. Chairman, the drawing I've got in the packet, are they not enclosing the walls? I mean, I notice there's a brick or something wall, or almost like a counter around the sides of it. Are they actually enclosing the whole thing?
I don't believe they are, but the applicant is on. Chris, you can unmute yourself if you wanted to add anything. I don't know. I'm not seeing any response from him at this time.
That's fine. Going by the way the drawing looks to me, being that the existing patio is 9 feet, the overall dimensions, it seems for the drawing here is actually going to stand out 11. So I would imagine that far wall, all the walls will be on the outside of the existing pad, is to not limit, what they've got there, and then cover the rest of it. Again, I think it just comes down to that bit of roof, which that's pretty common sense to me. Obviously, I'm sure the masonry work will be to match the building as well as the roof. Everything I'm sure will be done to code, et cetera. I'm not really seeing anything else.
If I might though, we have on a number of occasions not counted that as a significant encroachment when the walls have not been enclosed. And since, as Matt points out, there doesn't appear to be unique circumstances, I'm not so sure we shouldn't incorporate that in any kind of motion, because it looks like pretty much a tabletop lot, and 90 degrees on all the corners.
So Charlie, does that mean it really didn't have to come in front of the board since it's not getting enclosed?
Well, I don't know that I'd want us to be quite that clear cut, because these are more formidable, knee walls, you might say. But I think it'd be good to incorporate that into a motion, and that way we don't kind of put staff in a position of next time, oh, do we have them go? Do we not have them go? Let's just assume, yes, indeed, they should be here. But because it's not fully enclosed, we're going to improve the thing. I mean, if that's the tenor of the board.
Yeah, no, in general, what happens with applications like this is, building inspection will look at it, and if anything under the roof area extends into the setbacks, they will send the applicant to us to request a variance. Or I guess they could always amend their plans to not need a variance. But yeah, that's sort of how this works. And I actually prefer that if all applications where the roof line extends past the setbacks, all of those come to the Board of Adjustments rather than sort of being on a.
Yeah, and I agree with Matt. I think that should indeed be the hard and fast rule. But as recently as, what was it, Brown Street, they wanted to enclose the front stoop. None of the walls were to be enclosed. Of course, part of that was to satisfy neighbors, not necessarily us. There have been other back patios done where it was just roof that we have not taken any action on. So I do agree with Matt, but we've practiced this a different way on a number of occasions. So
yeah, I remember that front porch scenario. We were just trying to keep them from creating, what we in the South refer to as a sleeping porch, almost like a enclosed deck, as it were. And I agree. I think I was line of sight and all that, but seeing that this is off the back of the house, again, it's not going to all the way enclose like it'd be like a Florida patio kind of deal. I don't see any issue with it, but I'm sure, like you say, the big issue is the depth of which the roof.
Are you sure?
Is that, let's see here.
I make a motion that we approve the variance based on the staff recommendations.
could we include in that, Barbara, that and the non-enclosure of the sides?
Yes.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I had a hard time getting it unmuted.
Oh, that's just fine.
Okay.
I'm sure you've been able to hopefully hear everything we've had to say, but
Yeah.
if you have any other comments or anything, maybe building inspection may have told you to send us to us, anything of that nature.
Yeah, no, not necessarily. I just heard that you were concerned about the complete enclosure. And at this point, all she's wanting to do is add, like, it'll be a knee wall. So the brick wall around the edge will be, like an 18-inch wide by, say, 2-foot tall knee wall, and then open from there to the gable roof that'll be installed over top.
Charlie, can we swear Chris in?
Oh, yes, sir. Excuse me. Mr. Leverton, would you raise
Yes.
your right hand? Do you
Okay.
swear affirm the statements you've just made and any you're going to make to be the truth to the best of your information and belief?
Yes, sir, I do.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, there is still a motion out there in the air that can receive a second.
I'll actually make a second.
Okay.
Is that Amanda?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Motion has been made and accepted or seconded, excuse me. All those in favor of the motion by sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Any of those with nay? Anybody cameraless with nays? Nope. Seeing as no opposition, application is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Matt, let's see here.
If I might, Mr. Chairman, one note to Matt. Since part of the motion was not having enclosed, when you give him your letter affirming that it has been approved, you might note that that was a part of the motion. Therefore, at some point in the future, if they wish to enclose it, they need to come back.
They would need to come. I mean, I guess, would it be appropriate for me to add that as a fourth condition?
Well, it's
Or
part
should
of
I
the
just,
motion. Yeah,
or
it's
should I
part of
just
the motion.
note it as
Yeah.
part of the motion?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that'll be more, okay.
Hey, guys, could I ask one quick question?
Yes.
Would that include, like, if she just wanted, if she put screens in for the remainder of the wall section, would screens be a issue in that statement as well?
If that ends up coming to me, my suggestion would be, no, we're talking solid structural.
Solid structure. Okay.
If it's just screened in, of course, if it's like our screened in, the birds take it out in no time anyway. So.
Right. Okay. Okay. I'll let her know that.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Matt. Next application, please.
All right, thank you. The next application is G-2021-02. The applicant applied or submitted an application for additional square footage for a wall sign. The project site is located at 120 Osborne Way. It's next to the gas station back by Walmart. Was recently approved through the Planning Commission, and construction is underway for a Jiffy Lube at that location. The zoning of the property is B2, which is our highway commercial zoning. The lot is a little over 1 acre in size. And I'll get into what my recommendation is here in a second. This is just an aerial view of what the site looks like. Off to, I guess, what is the south on the left-hand side over here is where that sort of gas station and Walmart is, just so we can orient ourselves. The applicant is seeking a variance to increase the wall sign area that would be allowed. Actually, I was incorrect on the previous slide. This area is zone B5, not B2, which is our general commercial park zoning district. The wall signs in this district are limited to 1 per road frontage, as well as, excuse me, 1 square foot per 100, or 1 square foot per foot of building frontage, with a maximum allowable of 150 square feet. So when I was looking at their sign request, and this is sort of this is the elevation view of what the, I guess, sort of the area in question would look like. As you can see on here, there's what looks to be three small wall signs proposed. The way that the sign ordinance would calculate sort of a proposal like this would be that, you would count this all as one sign, and you would draw a box basically around the entire area, which obviously, would be far in excess of the 92 square feet that they would be allowed based on the building frontage here. So what I'm proposing, since the signs, are very reasonably sized, would be instead to amend what the applicant is requesting to be more of a request for multiple small wall signs instead of, one large wall sign. And I kind of go through here in the staff report, looking at the square footage of the individual small signs that they're requesting comes to a total of 61 square feet. If they had been putting one larger sign, they could go as large as 92 square feet without any approval from the board. So I do think it would be appropriate for the board to approve 3 small signs sort of as they've proposed them in their application materials. I do not recommend approval of granting just a variance to increase the allowable wall sign area. I think that what we would be better served doing is approving multiple signs as long as all those signs area is less than the total allowable. Hopefully that summarizes everything that I had in the staff report. I am obviously, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
And so basically it would read, 3 signs as described, at an allowable, what is it, 62 square feet or whatever, at 64.
Yeah.
We're looking at.
And I mean, we could even just say up to, the maximum allowed by the building size. I don't think there's any need for us to limit them necessarily to the 62. I was just mostly showing that the signs they're proposing at this time are much smaller than what we would normally.
Did you say the total normally is 90?
Yes, their building is 92 feet long. So normally we would allow 92 square feet of wall sign.
Okay.
I didn't catch all that. I was trying to write, Matt, but doing it the way you propose, it would measure approximately 61 or 62 feet.
61 square feet.
I'm sorry?
61 square
Yeah.
feet.
But if you measured it conventionally as one sign, it would be, what was that number? 147?
I think I estimated it in the staff report. I think I estimated it to be about 147 square feet.
Okay, that's what I thought that meant. And the actual ordinance permits 92
90.
since that's the frontage?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, excellent. And excellent suggestion, if I might butt in for.
Thank you.
It seems as though we have, I believe the applicant is in attendance here, are they?
Yes.
Looks like, okay. If you have anything else to comment or any questions for us, that would be fine. Otherwise, I agree. I think Matt has made some excellent arrangements here.
Yes, I agree.
Anybody else from the board or anybody have any questions, comments, concerns?
I'll make a motion to approve based on staff recommendations, not to exceed the 90 square feet. Is that correct, Matt?
92.
92.
92,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 92 square feet.
I'll second the motion. And as thus motion has been made and seconded, we'll move it to a vote. All those in favor of approval, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right. Application is approved then. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Let's see. And we will move on. Our next application here, please, Matt. I believe, is that the last item of new business? Looks like it is.
It
Okay.
should be, yes. Yeah, this last application is G-2021-03. The applicant is proposing a series of variances to allow use for an undersized lot at 334 Chambers. The applicant is proposing to reduce the front yard setback from 30 feet to 11 feet. Both side yard setbacks from 7.5 feet to 1.5 feet, and the rear yard setback from 25 to 6 feet. Excuse me. If all of those variances, or I guess if the house was constructed as proposed in the applicant's submitted materials, it would also be necessary for the board to grant an increase to the maximum allowable building coverage. In residential areas, buildings are allowed to cover up to 40% of the lot. The building proposed in this application would cover 55.2%. The project site is located at 334 Chambers Avenue, which is zoned R2. It's our medium density residential district. And as I mentioned, the lot is quite undersized. It's about just over 2,000 square feet in size, according to the drawing submitted by the applicant. I'll get into my recommendations here in just a second. This is an aerial view of the lot in question. There we go. I was going to say, I think I had another one. So this aerial view kind of shows a lot of the lots and homes in the area. As you can see, some of the other lots that are along Chambers do sit closer to the road than 25 feet. And I'll get into I have a table that's in the staff report and a table on my next slide that kind of also illustrates this. And some of the other lots in the area, particularly this lot to the north at 338, looks like, some of the setbacks have been reduced there, particularly on all sides for that lot. Some of the other lots look like, either variances had been granted or the homes that had existed probably before zoning was put in place. I really wanted to sort of illustrate that. When I looked at the front yard setbacks in particular, you can see here on this table, I kind of looked at both what some of the sizes of the lots in the area were, as well as a rough measurement from our aerial imagery, from how far it is from the front of those properties, from those structures to the front property line. So reducing the front yard setback for this particular property to 11 feet from 30 feet would be in line with the character for many of the other homes that front on Chambers Avenue. I included this aerial image from 2016. And this was, I guess, more just to show, there was at one time a house on this lot before. The lot in question would roughly be this area here. So I do think it's obviously reasonable for there to be some variance requests to allow a reasonable use of the property. And as I discuss in the staff report, for the most part, I find the setback reductions that they're requesting for the front and the rear yard to be reasonable. There is some question maybe of how usable a rear yard with 6 feet of depth might be, but that is sort of an issue. You have to basically have a small yard on some side of the building when the lot is only about 2,000 square feet in size. The part where I really, I don't think that we should approve the variance would be when it comes to the side yard setbacks. At the time that I wrote the staff report, I had reached out to the fire department, but had not yet heard back. I did hear back from the fire department. The fire marshal, Tim Thompson, did send me an email in which he thinks that the 1.5 foot setbacks on the sides is too close for structural firefighting and would likely set a bad precedent for the future if it was to be approved. So, and I discussed this a little bit in the staff report, but there was basically an ordinance that was passed by city council. I believe it was 1997, where they specifically took a look at a lot of the setbacks in residential areas, particularly as it would allow or disallow for safe firefighting practices. And that's sort of where there is some strong language regarding the side yard setbacks to make sure that there's at least 15 feet between single family structures to allow for the safety of the community as well as the emergency responders. It's not to say that there couldn't be any variances granted to these side yard setbacks, but to reduce them to 1.5 feet does not seem like a good idea to me. Go to the next slide. So I guess with that said, I recommend approval of the variances to the front and the rear yard setbacks. I do recommend denial of reducing the side yard setbacks to as little as 1.5 feet. And if the application is approved, at least in some form, I do recommend the 3 conditions of approval that are there on the screen and in the staff report.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And you didn't really, I saw you had some data in here with the front yards. I don't guess, could you go back to the picture? I'm having trouble seeing it in my packet, how the
no
other
problem.
properties join. I'm just kind of curious as how they're.
Yeah, so this is a little bit more zoomed in view. So you can see this, the property here to the north, you know, is pretty tight on all sides. I think that one was maybe, I can't remember if that one received a variance or not, off the top of my head. So I don't want to say one way or the other. The property here to the south does sit pretty close to this side property line. When I go to the next slide, you know, we can see a little bit more of the neighborhood. A lot of these homes here on the west side of Chambers Avenue have, you know, those are all pretty good sized lots for this area, and so you can see they've all got good sized backyards. So I mean, most of the time when I see something like this with an undersized lot, I try to find a way, you know, other similar sized or shaped lots to kind of compare it to. But even, you know, a lot like this one here at 346, where it's a little bit bigger, you know, you can see that one even is, you know, the rear yard on that lot is also pretty reduced.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think my biggest hangups are the side yards, and that's kind of what I was trying to justify. I would have really loved to have seen a proposed floor plan and other elevations of the home itself.
Oh, the applicant did include those. I did not include those in the packet. I guess that was my choice. They included floor plans for the home. I don't really have a good way of sharing those with you now at this point. I guess I don't know that holding them up would really help, but I guess I could, if there were any questions you had about the floor plan, I might be able to.
Well, it's, you know, I've kind of been there, done that with lots like this. Again, this is small even by those standards of what I'm kind of used to anyway.
Yeah.
You know, 36 feet across the front of a house isn't a whole lot. Is it a one-story home?
It is a two.
It is a two-story home. Well, that would help them. I guess what we really need to figure out, you know, without me being able to see the floor plan here in front of me to kind of like talk with the person and advise them, et cetera, is, you know, what size setback on the side yards are we comfortable with, or the fire department is comfortable with? Because obviously, you know, it seems to me there's going to have to be some sort of concession.
Did the fire department make any recommendations for the side yard setback?
They did not. They really only expressed that they weren't comfortable with 1.5 foot setbacks.
What is the standard setback?
7.5 feet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's 6 feet on each side, which, you know, if you're taking 12 feet of width out of a house, that's a whole room. You know,
Yeah.
especially depending on how it's laid out.
And the applicant is on. I don't know if Brian could be able to answer some of those.
Yeah, that would be,
questions.
you know, because like I said, we're going to have to make this thing buildable, I guess. And like I said, I would really love to have seen is what it is.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, can you? Charlie, can you swear him in?
Mr. Haley, could you raise your right hand, please?
Yes, sir. I'm
Swear
new,
affirm.
but I'll accept.
Excuse me?
I said I'm new to all this, so I just wanted to make
Oh.
sure y'all heard me and everything.
Oh, sure. But do you swear or affirm the statement you're about to make to be the truth to the best of your information and belief?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Mr. Shirley, you had a question for me, I believe?
Well, I would like to kind of know more about the home itself to see if we can maybe potentially rearrange your floor plan a little bit, maybe get something else up on the second floor to.
Well, here's where I'm at. That house I'm not set in stone with that house. That's the house I had to present. Of course, I'm going to ask for the world and accept less. I know 1.5 foot is very questionable, and I understand the reasons why. I will point out, because I know some of your people had questions about the firefighting aspect and what have you. I do know that in Lexington, that if you build anything, you can build up to 18 inches in certain residential areas. But if you do, underneath the vinyl siding outside or whatever your siding is, you have to put a double layer of 5/8 inch fire rated drywall. And that is in addition to any of the other drywall that would be in the house. That would be on the exterior that would control fire spread. So, I mean, I know those things exist elsewhere. I don't know what your local fire department or your local ordinances, or your adopted methods include. But I mean, we would not be opposed to doing something like that. I could easily back down to, and be comfortable with 3.5 feet on each side. And I could modify my floor plan and situate some things around. I'm capable of doing all that. That's not an issue. But yeah, we want to get this thing to where it's buildable and move ahead with it. So I really don't want to, table this for months or anything. But see what your guys' thoughts are on this.
I guess where it stands is what is the fire department comfortable with? I would hate to put words in their mouth. I'm very familiar with the area this gentleman's referring to that have those smaller side yards with those firewall accommodations. I've done fire blocking very similar to that in other instances, not with homes being this close together, but commercial work, elevator shafts, apartments, things of that nature. But single family homes, I don't know. I don't know what the fire department's comfortable with. And I hate to send this gentleman back, to have come back to another meeting, but that might just kind of be where we're at. I don't know if anybody else has any opinion, whether it be Matt or Mr. Perkins.
Well, I have one statement to make, and basically my decision on purchasing this lot has to be made tonight because the people selling the lot will not sign an extension. So I don't mean to put you guys on the block. I mean, this is just something that I don't have control over, and you guys don't have control over because you don't hold the final answer. But that's just where I sit in this deal. I don't own the lot yet. I have a contract to purchase the lot, and that's where I sit at this moment.
Well, you all kind of walk me through this. What happens if we approve 2 out of the 3? That at least gives this gentleman some comfort, with his purchase. I mean, I don't mean to speak for him as well. And then, since he's not necessarily married to this floor plan, we'll have to work something out with the fire department. Or is that unreasonable? This is a little bit different.
We also have one member of the public who would like to speak. Just, I guess, whenever you're ready.
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, if I could ask a question of Matt before we go on.
Yes.
You referred earlier to the ordinance that the city passed some 25 years ago or so.
Yeah.
And I don't recall specifically, but I was thinking that they put in that there was to be a minimum of 15-foot separation. And I think you noted in the staff report that would put a burden on, although I think there are houses on both adjacent lots.
There are, yes.
But is there a way to even get 15, especially on 338, that side? Because it looks like they're already pretty daggone close to it.
I think that they are at least 7.5 from that setback.
Okay. Is there a way to get a setback? I know the gentleman said he could go as high as 3.5, but is there a way to get the 15 feet by giving this gentleman a variance on either side? Plus, I was hoping you might have a copy of that ordinance because, again, we did that a long time ago.
Yeah, I have it at the office. I don't have it with me here at the house. I mean, it doesn't
call it the same way that it said we needed to maintain a minimum, because I know we've given variances on the side where the others had, much bigger setbacks.
Yeah. So it doesn't mandate a 15-foot separation between single family structures, but it does say that sort of that's the purpose for the 7.5-foot side yards, if that makes sense. It does have a mandate basically for 15 feet of separation between multifamily structures.
I was thinking it did on single also. Okay.
It doesn't specifically have that same requirement for single family structures. It is worded in a way where lots created since that ordinance was passed. Basically, it makes it harder for those lots to get side yard setback reductions to less than 7.5 feet. But
Right.
this lot predates that ordinance.
Gentlemen,
Yes, go ahead, sir.
I have a recommendation, but I think I'll hold that recommendation off until after you hear the comment that another citizen wanted to make.
Okay. If the other person was present and ready.
I am. Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Keisha Richardson, and I believe I need to be sworn in first.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Richardson, do you swear or affirm the statement you're about to make to be the truth to the best of your information and belief?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, first I want to thank Mr. Matt for helping me out last week and trying to understand what the letter was that I received to my home. I actually live at 101 East Lynn, so I'm on that corner lot there. And so first I want to say that I'm sad he beat me to the punch because I had wanted the lot. I had been living there since '06. And so I remember the house that was there. I remember the couple of fires that they had, that kind of thing. And I had kind of wanted to try to stay in the neighborhood, but I wanted more space. So I understand this evening, this is not really about the purchasing of the lot, but more about the way that they are trying to build the house that they're putting there. So my concern at this point is fire. I do have a shed in my backyard that would be close. My property line is not, can you hear me? Because I'm in open office space. I want to make sure you can't hear behind me more than you can hear me.
It's fine.
Okay, all right, great. So I wanted to say that I have been there through a couple of fires with that property that was there. I have a fence also that goes around my backyard because I have 2 4-legged boys. And the fence actually is in front of, just a hairs, but in front of on the inside of my property line because there are trees that go along the property line that made it impossible for me to go straight through my property line. So some of that is actually appears to be on the property line of the lot is not actually the lot. And it's just a little bit, it's not much, it's just a little bit. But I just wanted to make sure that was known. The other thing I wanted to make sure that was also seen as a concern for me is the fact that when we start to build, if there is damage that winds up to my property, how do I recoup that? And then because there's not a lot of parking as the potential has seen, I'm sure, to that little area there. So I just kind of had those concerns, and fire being the major one, because even though it's at my backyard, it's still close to my shed, and it is still close to the trees that are there, which could essentially move the fire over, because that was a close call that I had with the home that was there before. Like I said, I've been living there since '06 with the mortgage on the property since '07. So that was my concern. I just wanted to let you all know that. I understand that when property is obtained, that folks want to use it. And so, but I did want to ensure that there was a voice heard, at least from my end, of the concerns that I would have. And also generally when people buy lots, they're not moving in it themselves. So I know that doesn't have a big concern for you all, but I just wanted to, when you kind of start squishing people in, that does become a bit of concern. Because like I said, I did move in there when that other house was present and was someone was living in it. So it was an active environment. So I just wanted to say that so that you guys could know that that was my concern. And I do appreciate your time this evening. Thank you.
And thank you for that information. And I agree and understand, when you only have, say, if that home's going to be 1.5 feet, presumably off the property line, digging a foundation or what have you, that close to the property line, something's bound to get in your yard. I've been there, done that too. And that's another reason why some of these setbacks exist, is to avoid some of that, utilities and whatnot as well. But all that aside, I think it really is going to come down to, what's the fire department going to be comfortable with? I wish they would have given us a little more guidance.
Mr. Shirley, if I may,
Yes.
during this time, I've been able to crunch some numbers. I can get the square footage I want out of this house that I would like to do. I could get that square footage with granting a 6.5 side yard variance on each side, which gets us within a foot. I don't know that that's worth, the
So you're
argument
saying it
of
would
the
be,
fire department and everything. In
it
other
would
words,
be 6.5 feet setback as opposed to 7.5?
that is suggested, but was not necessarily outlined as a requirement according to Matt. They suggested 7.5 feet, but he said that actually only applied to multifamily housing. So I believe that would leave your 7.5 foot for a single family housing kind of open to interpretation and up to a decision for you all to make. But doing my numbers here on a 39 foot lot, if I take 13 feet out, I can still put a 26 foot wide house there. This house that we originally proposed had a garage that was part of the home. I can kick the garage off and I can rearrange this and that and whatever, and I can live with that and make a 2-story house that's going to be about a 15 to 1,600 square feet area. I could live with that, and that would maintain a 6.5 foot on both side yards, 6.5 foot or 6 foot on the backyard, and the 11 foot on the front yard, which Matt didn't have a problem with. And also, if I may address the lady's concerns there, that would limit potential property damage to hers as far as a building site, with construction equipment and what have you. It would help reduce that. The property would not be built on prior to the lot being surveyed and staked. So, we have to know exactly right where this house would have to go in order for all this to be fine and done in the end. So I think if you guys could meet me at that area, I think we could possibly finalize this if everything I've told you is correct with what I understood from Matt and what Charlie was talking about earlier. I'm finished. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. Any input or questions from anybody else? Ms. Richardson included?
I guess for me, as long as we can, and I understand this is not the environment or the setting to obtain any additional information from the potential owner, but I would like to make it known that I would still like to have information for when he starts to build, because as I said, I understand this potential hearing is not about whether or not he can build, it's just how is he going to build. So just so that I have that information just in case. Like I said, I've lived there for a while and was hoping to be able to stay there for a while longer, but then that puts me on a 3 to 5 year plan because I do need more space. So but I just want to make sure that there is something that I have in case, something goes a little awry. Just want to make sure that I've got information. So really, that was all I wanted. I just appreciate the opportunity to address the council here so that you guys know that there are people in that neighborhood that that care about what's going on around them. So I do appreciate that.
And thank you. Okay, board, what say ye? Or Mr. Perkins or Matt, do you all have any questions or concerns so far?
No, actually, if I might, Mr. Chairman, with Matt's clarification on this city ordinance, I think this is probably a very good suggestion that the applicant has made that gives him the ability. One of the things we like to do and is our responsibility is to allow reasonable use of people's property. Well, 1 foot on either side, that sounds like that might be quite reasonable to put this property back into good use.
I agree with that. I guess in that case, when there is a motion presumably made, everything there should stay as is with the exception of the side yard language, correct? It would be amended to.
So what you would do is move approval of the front and rear setback requests as made and approval of the side yard setbacks to 6.5 feet, not to 1.5. And that way it's clear he's getting approval, but not the one he asked for. He's getting approval of less than that.
Brian, do you know what you said that would be a 24 by 36 house that you would then propose?
You're looking at a 26 wide by 30 foot deep house.
26 by 30. I was just asking mostly, I think it would also be good that we incorporate sort of that size of the house into it as well. I guess I could run the numbers real quick, but just in case it extends over that 40% building coverage area. I think, like, I guess Red and Charlie have said that, the setback reduction to 6.5 feet is reasonable. I just know with an undersized lot like this, it doesn't take much to get over that 40%.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. And I don't know how clear we need to be in that language of approving that ratio, as it were. But that will get us much closer. I don't know if Charlie or Matt have any requirements for if we need to address that language, if we're going to adjust the size, or if we can just do a blanket approval of, okay, he's going to exceed the threshold. I don't know how exact you all need to be.
Actually, it looks like we may not need that because if I'm running it correctly, 26 by 30 house would come in at about 37% building coverage. So even if it's adjusted slightly from there, it should be fine as far as that 40%.
As usual, we do precise work for government work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. We can amend that language as well then. So basically how a motion for approval would go, the front yard setback stays as is, correct? Let's see here. Yeah, sorry, my front page is different than it says 6 feet in the summary on the front, but it's 11. Okay, so 11
Yes.
feet in front, rear yard is 6. And then we'll change this to 6.5 on the sides. And what did you say that percentage comes to, Matt? 37?
I got 37, so there wouldn't be a variance needed.
Okay, so we just strike that from the language total.
Yeah, correct.
Do we need to acknowledge the fact that we're striking that from the application, Mr. Perkins, or are we just carrying it out without even mention it?
It'll stand with our action. So that just won't be addressed.
Okay, well, in that case, I will make a motion to approve the application. However, the application shall be amended to the side yard setbacks will be approved at 6.5 feet on each side. Front and rear setbacks remain as originally applied for. If that's clear as mud.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor by sign of aye.
Aye.
All right, any nays? Okay, motion and application are approved. And then Ms. Richardson and Mr. Halen, I'm sure y'all will be fine neighbors. And if y'all want to arrange a little get together on your own terms and whatnot to discuss, I'm sure y'all will. And I hope that makes y'all's days easier and your decision as well, Mr. Halen. all that being said and done, I would like to somehow move out of our regular meeting. I think kind of how we did last month and get into I guess some sort of closed conversation, because I don't want to get into anybody's business with the general public, as it were. So whatever I need to do for that, Mr. Perkins.
Well, what would be the topic, Abe?
Well, I'm just curious about,
It's the only thing we can
we've got
do
some vacancies and continued absences, et cetera, et
that's not
cetera.
appropriate for closed session.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't you just, next time you drive by the house, just stop.
Okay. Okay.
Because in effect, what you're talking about is not necessarily board action. You're just your own information. And that's appropriate, not appropriate for closed session.
Yeah. Okay. I just didn't know, you know, especially with our one member that's, I just don't know what's going on with that person.
Yeah, correct.
That may be above and beyond me. That may be a Matt and Mr. Mayor thing. So, but
Yeah,
anyway,
and, yeah.
okay. Unless we have anything else, then I guess that's it.
I do have one other thing. I wanted to discuss the notification policy for conditional use permits. Joe and I started talking about this in December. At the time, it sounded like there was an application that was going to come to the board that is no longer going to come to the board. But it made me wonder about our notification policy for conditional use permits, particularly because some of them can have an impact on the surrounding area. And our current notification policy notifies all property owners within 100 feet. And in some cases, some of the things proposed could impact people further out than that.
That in effect may not even get past the neighboring property.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So what I'm proposing or wondering if the board has feedback on is what our notification policy is for properties inside city limits for planning commission applications is a 500-foot notification boundary. Obviously, that would mean quite a bit more work for me to get those letters mailed out. But I think in particular, in some cases where, you know, somebody might be proposing a home occupation that might be, you know, produce noise or something like that, or, you know, if there were certain conditional uses in commercial areas that might adjoin residential areas, I think it's just important that we sort of give the public the opportunity at least to hear what's going on. Because in some cases, you know, we have the conditional use permits that come before the board and then they go to planning commission, and with the larger notification area at planning commission, that's the first that, you know, people that live nearby might be hearing that, you know, this neighboring property or nearby property might be building something or, you know, having some sort of use. So I didn't know if you all had any thoughts on that, or if.
Well, I mean, I definitely understand the concern. I mean, if you're willing to take on the work and put that much work on whoever comes behind you, I guess. But is that something you need to talk more with? Oh, gosh. I'm sorry. His name's escaping me for some reason. Anyway, is that something you need to handle in-house with the rest of the staff there, or?
I mean, I think it's something that at least my assumption is that each board basically has their own notification requirements. So if the Georgetown Board of Adjustment was to change the notification requirements for certain applications, that would be within your authority to do.
Matt, what are you suggesting it change to?
500 feet.
500 feet.
Oh, 500. I'm sorry, what is it now? I
It
apologize.
is 100 feet right now.
Okay.
And I guess what I am proposing is that this would only apply to conditional use permits. I'm not proposing that this apply to variance requests. Something like the application we just discussed, you know, where somebody's looking to reduce their side yard setbacks or rear yard setbacks. For the most part, that really only impacts those neighbors that are closest to them.
It would just be applications that could affect the neighborhood, as it were, home occupations, things of that nature. Nobody 10 houses away needs to know about somebody else's sunroom, I don't guess. You know?
Yeah. One question, Mr. Chairman, if I may. Matt, just take my house, for example. If we were to do a conditional use, then my notices would include Georgetown College, would include people who front on South Broadway. Man, that's a whole lot of people that I don't think would have any concern in the world with what I'm doing. because no conditional use that would have that kind of potential impact is ever going to be approved. I can see maybe going 200 feet, but you figure 200 feet, that's 4 lots in all directions from my house.
Yeah.
Now this is an older neighborhood. We don't have the larger lots. But can you imagine Georgetown College all the way to South Broadway, down in front perhaps of Garth School and virtually to Main Street? Well, maybe not that far, but the Constitution.
Yeah.
We'll get another one of those in-home internet gun business dealings and have 7,000 people show up to the meeting.
Yeah, that just really seems like overkill.
Okay. I guess what I could do, I mean, we don't obviously have to change anything tonight, but I could pull together some sample, some maps that show.
Get your
show some
protractor out and make
sample
us.
areas.
I
That way
really
we
don't
could
want
all.
to have to give Georgetown College any notification. I just don't want to do that.
Yeah. Oh, I almost forgot. Every month I have to ask about our South Broadway scenario. Is
The
anything
judge has still got it. It's not going anywhere. The judge has got it on his desk.
Okay, that's all I need to know, I guess. Okay, that's it. That's all I got. Anybody have anything else? Okay, well, I guess I'll see you all next month. If y'all need me otherwise, let me know. Mr. Perkins, if I do see you, I'll stop and try to remember to ask those questions I had for you.
Excellent. Very good. Well, Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you.
You all stay safe. Thank y'all very
Bye-bye.
much.